At almost the same time in December, one city wakes to a girl in white carrying candles through the dark. Another street erupts with star-shaped piñatas and hot fruit punch. Another turns entire avenues into rivers of light. And somewhere else, Christmas lunch is eaten under a blazing summer sun. That contrast is the real mystery of Christmas. One holiday, one name, and yet when it travels across the world, it becomes 10 completely different worlds of sound, color, weather, memory, and meaning. And that is exactly what makes this celebration so endlessly watchable. Christmas, in the broadest historical sense, began as a feast associated with the birth of Jesus. But the version the modern world recognizes is far bigger than one ritual or one country. It stretches from cathedral squares to apartment towers, from mountain villages to megacities, from family tables to tourism campaigns, from ancient winter symbolism to electric light, shows designed for the phone camera age. In Germany, it glows in old market squares, scented with cinnamon and roasted almonds. In Naples, it spills from artisan workshops packed with tiny figurines. In San Fernando, in the Philippines, it becomes pure engineering theater, with giant lanterns lighting up the night. In Tokyo, it turns boulevards into luminous corridors. Yet most people never notice this part. Christmas is not experienced as a single event, but as a chain of local reinventions, each one telling you something about the society that shaped it. Historically, the exact origin of December 25th is debated. Early Christians did not originally celebrate the birth of Jesus as a major festival, and no one knows the actual date of that birth. According to widely accepted historical accounts, the Church in Rome began formally celebrating Christmas on December 25th in the 4th century, and the choice of date may have been shaped by earlier Roman winter festivals, by symbolic calculations around March 25th, or by both. What is clear is that Christmas did not arrive fully formed. It evolved slowly, absorbed local customs, and by the early modern and modern eras became both a religious observance and increasingly a broader family and public holiday. By the 20th century, it had expanded well beyond church walls into markets, music, gift exchange, community events, and civic spectacle. So when we look at Christmas around the world today, we are really watching a very old story that has learned how to wear many different costumes. Why is it celebrated so widely, even in forms that look nothing alike? Historically, because it offered communities a midwinter focal point tied to family, memory, generosity, and the turning of the season. In some places, it remains centered on liturgical calendars and religious observance. In others, it is just as much about neighborhood identity, public light displays, food traditions, or the emotional need to gather before the year ends. That is why the cast of Christmas is so large. Families prepare tables and gifts. Artisans build decorations by hand. Choirs, school groups, and neighborhood associations rehearse for weeks. City governments fund lights and crowd control. Vendors prepare seasonal dishes. Tourists arrive chasing atmosphere. Diaspora communities recreate fragments of home. And younger generations, even when they change the style, often keep the ritual of showing up. But the real story begins here, in the days before the celebration, when ordinary streets start turning into stages. Long before Christmas Day itself, preparations begin to transform entire places. In German towns, historic squares fill with wooden stalls, regional sweets, ornaments, and handmade crafts. In white gowns are pre-pruned, candle crowns assembled, saffron buns baked, and songs practiced for Lucia on December 13th. In Naples, workshops along San Gregorio Armeno and San Biagio dei Libri bring out handmade nativity figures and tiny theatrical worlds. In Mexico, neighborhoods organize 9 nights of posadas, gathering candles, piñatas, tamales, and hot ponche. In Iceland, children place shoes by the window for the Yule lads. In the Philippines, communities build giant lanterns that can reach 14 to 18 feet across. In Tokyo, crews string lights across trees, towers, plazas, and shopping streets. In Australia, supermarkets shift to seafood, pavlova, and summer fruit, while beach towns prepare for a holiday that arrives with sunscreen, not snow. The season starts as decoration, but what it is really building is expectation. Before dawn in Sheffield, Christmas feels almost silent. The air is cold, windows are dark, and then a procession appears. White robes, red sashes, candlelight, in the unmistakable image of Lucia moving through the winter morning. It is one of the most visually powerful Christmas traditions anywhere in the world because it is built on contrast. Darkness outside, light inside. Stillness in the streets, singing in schools, churches, care homes, and public halls. The modern Swedish Lucia tradition blends older midwinter beliefs with the memory of Saint Lucia of Syracuse, and the white-clad Lucia figure was first recorded in 1764 before the custom spread more widely through schools and associations in the 20th century. The details matter here. Saffron buns called lussekatter, gingerbread, mulled drinks, and songs almost every Swede knows by heart. It is less about spectacle in the modern commercial sense, and more about how an entire country choreographs light at the darkest point of the year. By late morning, the mood shifts completely in Germany. Here, Christmas moves into public space with a confidence that feels almost architectural. Historic squares, old town alleys, and decorated shopping streets become Christmas markets, where the festival is experienced through scent as much as sight. Roasted almonds, gingerbread, mulled wine, sausages, marzipan, stollen, carved wood ornaments, glass baubles, and lights reflecting off old stone facades create a setting that feels designed to slow people down. Germany's tourism authorities describe these markets as places where every region adds its own touch. From Nuremberg gingerbread to Dresden Christstollen to the woodcraft of the Ore Mountains. What viewers often miss is that these markets are not just pretty backdrops. They are working seasonal economies, supporting stallholders, bakers, craftspeople, musicians, and hotels, while also preserving a very old idea of Advent as a period of gathering, browsing, and anticipation. Then there is Naples, where Christmas becomes miniature and enormous at the same time. Walk into San Gregorio Armeno, the famous street of nativity scenes, and the city seems to compress itself into thousands of tiny handcrafted figures. Shepherds, bakers, market sellers, musicians, animals, angels, comic faces, even modern celebrity parodies, everything is there. This is not a frozen museum tradition. It is alive, crowded, noisy, and unmistakably Neapolitan. According to local and national Italian sources, the roots of this craft in Naples reach back centuries, with nativity representation gaining special fame in the 17th century as aristocratic patronage and Baroque taste turned it into an art form as much as a devotional object. That is why the workshops matter. They are not only selling decorations, they are preserving a way of imagining the city itself, where the Christmas story is placed inside a bustling, southern Italian street world of markets, ovens, fabrics, and human character. And that's where things become more interesting. In Naples, Christmas is not only about what happened long ago, but about who the city believes itself to be right now. As evening approaches in Mexico, Christmas turns outward and begins to move. Las Posadas unfold over 9 nights from December 16th to 24, and their power comes from participation. Streets fill with neighbors, candles, music, children, laughter, and procession. Historically, Posadas developed in colonial Mexico and became a community reenactment associated with the search for lodging before the birth of Jesus. But in practice, they also became one of the most social and inclusive parts of the season. People gather outside and inside homes, then the formal part gives way to the party itself. Star-shaped piñatas, candy bags, steaming ponche made with fruits and cinnamon, tamales wrapped warm against the cold, and conversations that stretch long into the night. One of the lesser-known details is how symbolic the 7-point piñata once was, though in many places today the emphasis is less on theological meaning and more on community joy. What the camera sees is lantern glow, paper stars, smoke rising from food, and the exact kind of neighborhood closeness that many modern cities struggle to create the rest of the year. In Ukraine, Christmas carries another texture, entirely more intimate, more home-centered, and deeply tied to food, symbols, and song. The table matters. Kutia, the grain-based dish that occupies a central place in the holiday meal, matters. So does the diduk, the decorated sheaf of wheat or rye that connects the season to harvest memory and ancestry. Carols, candles, nativity plays known as vertep, and the visual presence of straw, stars, and embroidered textiles turn the home into a ceremonial space long before any public celebration begins. And there is another modern layer here. Ukraine officially shifted Christmas Day to December 25th in 2023, a major cultural and civic change, even as many older customs remain strongly rooted in family practice. That means Christmas in Ukraine today is also a story about continuity and change living side by side. Old symbols, new calendar politics, and a determination to preserve identity through ritual, sound, and shared meals even under immense national strain. Farther north in Iceland, Christmas arrives one visitor at a time. Not with a single Santa figure, but with the 13 Yule lads, a troupe of mischievous, folkloric characters who descend over the 13 nights leading up to Christmas. For children, this creates an entirely different rhythm of suspense. A shoe is placed in the window, and each night brings the possibility of a small gift. The tradition is playful now, but its roots lie in older troll folklore that was much darker. That is what makes Icelandic Christmas so fascinating. It preserves the edge of winter myth without losing the warmth of modern family celebration. Snow, lava fields, and dark afternoons already give Iceland a cinematic setting, but the Yule lads add character. Christmas here does not feel polished into sameness. It still carries a hint of wild landscape and old stories told close to the window, while the night presses against the glass. And then in the Philippines, the season explodes into light. In San Fernando, Pampanga, the Giant Lantern Festival transforms Christmas into a contest of craftsmanship, mechanics, and civic pride. What began in the early 20th century as small lanterns used in holiday processions evolved into enormous rotating stars, often 14 to 18 feet in diameter, built by competing barangays and illuminated in elaborate patterns. The effect is hypnotic. Lights pulse, colors chase across geometric frames, and whole crowds react in waves as each design comes alive. This is one of the clearest examples of Christmas as public engineering art. It is rooted in the Filipino parol, the star lantern associated with the season, but scaled up until it becomes a monumental performance. And that scale matters for more than spectacle. The festival sustains artisanship, attracts domestic and international visitors, and reinforces San Fernando's identity as the Christmas capital of the Philippines. In Japan, Christmas takes on a distinctly modern urban form. It is less centered on one shared historic ritual and more on atmosphere-illuminated streets, department stores, date night districts, themed displays, Christmas trees in plazas, and winter installations that turn dense cityscapes into emotional landscapes. The Japan National Tourism Organization highlights places like the Sendai Pageant of Starlight, which began in 1985 and now threads hundreds of thousands of lights through rows of Zelkova trees, as well as large-scale displays in Tokyo and Nagasaki. Some of these illuminations are tied directly to seasonal celebration, while others carry memorial meaning, such as Kobe Luminary, which began after the 1995 Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake and became both a tribute and a sign of recovery. That is the hidden layer many viewers miss. Japan's Christmas lights are not only decorative. In some cities, they are also about healing, romance, urban identity, and the pleasure of walking slowly through engineered beauty in the cold. Now cut to Australia, and the visual logic of Christmas flips upside down. There is no need to imagine snow when the day itself is dazzling. Christmas arrives in summer, and that changes everything. The food, the clothing, the timing of the day, the public mood, even the color of the light. The Australian version still carries traces of British and European traditions, trees, carols, gift exchange, roast meals for some families, but it has long adapted to local weather and local taste. Seafood platters, salads, pavlova, fruit, beach trips, backyard gatherings, and sunscreen are just as recognizably Christmas as any fir branch or wrap present. What outsiders often underestimate is how strongly heat shapes the rhythm. The big meal often happens earlier. Families seek shade, ocean, or parkland. Secret Santa, sometimes called Kris Kringle, is a common way to keep gift-giving social and affordable. So while snow is still used in imported imagery, real Australian Christmas is about light on water, bare feet on grass, and a holiday that has learned how to belong to the Southern Hemisphere on its own terms. And then there is Ethiopia, reminding us that Christmas is not even fixed to one December date everywhere. Ethiopian Christmas, known as Jenna, is celebrated on January 7th, And in places like Lalibela, it draws large crowds, white garments, processions, overnight services, and an atmosphere that feels both ancient and immediate. The rock-hewn churches of Lalibela make the visual setting especially striking. Stone, torchlight, white fabric, incense, morning chill, and the movement of pilgrims create images unlike almost any other Christmas scene on earth. Ethiopian officials in 2026 were already preparing to welcome tourists to Jeddah and Timkit, with Lalibela described as the spiritual heart of the celebration and a major destination for international visitors. What makes Jeddah so important in a film about Christmas around the world is the way it expands the viewer's map. It proves the holiday is not just a December 25th event framed by European winter imagery. It also lives in other calendars, other historical continuities, and other monumental landscapes. Seen together, these 10 countries reveal something bigger than a collection of quirky customs. Christmas survives because it keeps offering multiple kinds of value at once. It gives cities a season of tourism and local spending. It gives artisans and performers work that depends on tradition staying alive. It gives families a reason to gather and neighborhoods a reason to organize. It gives younger generations a stage on which to reinterpret old customs without always breaking them. Naples keeps its workshops active. Germany keeps its markets full of regional craft and food, keeps Lucia relevant through schools and public culture. San Fernando turns technical lantern making into inherited civic pride. Japan keeps inventing new forms of winter atmosphere. Ukraine keeps symbols and songs alive as identity. Australia proves adaptation can be tradition too. Ethiopia shows how heritage sites and living ritual continue to speak to the present. There is also a deeper lesson hidden inside all this beauty. The most memorable Christmas traditions are rarely the most generic ones. They are the ones tied to place. Candle wax in a dark Scandinavian morning, cinnamon in a German square, paper stars in a Mexican street, wheat on a Ukrainian table, tiny clay figures in Naples, snow-lit troll folklore in Iceland, steel frames and electric bulbs in Pampanga, LED constellations above Tokyo sidewalks, salt air and bright noon in Australia, white-robed crowds moving through stone churches in Lalibela. Each one tells us that people do not keep festivals alive by repeating them exactly. They keep them alive by making them feel locally true year after year, generation after generation. So the next time Christmas appears on a screen, in a shop window, or in a song you have heard 1,000 times, it is worth remembering that somewhere else, the same season looks nothing like the version you know. Somewhere it enters before dawn and candlelight. Somewhere it arrives through a market gate. Somewhere it swings from a piñata rope. Somewhere it glows inside a giant lantern or across a boulevard of winter trees. Somewhere it is carried in wheat or stitched into a white robe or reflected off the sea on the hottest day of the year. And maybe that is the most powerful thing about Christmas around the world. Not that everyone celebrates it the same way, but that one shared calendar moment can still hold so many different human worlds at once.